podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to Molby On The Spot, your weekly chance, thanks to Anfield Index Pro, to hear the wit and wisdom of your friend and mine, Mr. Jan Molby, as we welcome him back once more. Good afternoon, Jan.
Yes, good afternoon, Trevor. I hope you're well.
I'm not bad. I am just fresh from apologising to you for our late start. Families, eh? So we can do what we can do. We'll have a shorter one this week, but it may actually be appropriate to have a shorter one because we may not have it in our hearts to speak too much about the current state of affairs. We're, of course, recording on a Friday after the Thursday night that was. Very, very disappointing situation. I've had time to mull it over now. I was initially quite angry, I'll be honest, in that kind of fan way. Irritated. Certainly it didn't share the same emotions that Kloppo seemed to feel, Jan, where he was quite pleased, he said, with the performance. And I would guess, and again, I'm talking to the right man here, that might just have been some managerial guff that he just felt he had to say, because I don't see how. When you look at that second half performance, you look at the introduction of, was it 3 attacking substitutes in 66 minutes? The only shot in anger was Virgil's tame header at the keeper, and nothing else happened. There was nothing that accrued by way of a chance after the introduction of those 3 attackers, where we took off 3 attackers. I can't explain that. I'd love to know if you've got a theory.
I think it's really difficult, Trevor. So I have to admit, I very rarely do that, but I did feel a bit like a fan after the game. My first instinct was, what the fuck was that? You know, you know, when we got the penalty early on and you thought, well, okay, you know, this will give us a real chance. We just never managed it. And I'm looking back and this obviously, everybody's got their own opinions of what's going wrong, Trevor, aren't they? I mean, you know, there's a drop-off in our intensity in our play. Then equally, there's a drop-off in our quality. And that is a problem. You know, if you can't play at that intensity, which you can't for that many games a season, then the drop-off in quality is too big. So then you come back to, what does the intensity, what cracks do they paper over, you know? So I think it's really difficult. But it's not looking good, Trevor. It just looks like we're running on fumes. We're running out of ideas. And I guess on Raw last night, when you discussed the game, we'd have probably discussed the tactics, I would have thought, because we'd had a week to prepare for Atalanta playing in the only way that Atalanta can. And we just never managed to find a way of exposing their weakness, because they also have weaknesses, but we just never got to a stage where we could expose them, which is very disappointing.
Yeah, and I think, again, to focus the main sort of target of my fury was that last chunk of the game, where I could not get over our attacking ineptitude. That's one thing. But why are we playing triangles at the back with Ali on the ball more than anyone else? And again, we did speak about this at length, and I felt it, you know, on this show, I'll risk an opinion, but I always do couch it by saying that it's, you know, people want to hear your opinion. But I think I'm safe enough in saying that you'll probably agree with me that there was no obvious tactic there. in that last period of the game, because we were allowing them to push up on us and we weren't managing to successfully play through that press. So then if that keeps happening and you are chasing 2 goals, well, then you go long, because that's what I used to do when I was fucking 14 years of age. And you put someone up there, you ping long balls or diagonals, you get knocked down, you get people around it, you cause a bit of chaos. I don't care if that sounds agricultural and old-fashioned and too simplistic. If the other thing is so not working that you can't get out of your own fucking box, then you have to do something. And I found it... This is why I was so angry about at the end. I was like, what, do we really have no ambition past just simply winning this game and arresting a losing streak? Because we are losing this game overall. And I could not understand it. I couldn't understand how we didn't go to some sort of Route 1 basics for at least 15 minutes at the end when we had all those strikers on the pitch.
So what you're looking for was a clear sign that from now on we're doing something different. We're doing something completely different to what we've done so far in the 2 games. And let's see how that works. Yeah, I mean, also another problem, and without being too harsh, but it's almost like, so we decided to go really strong in terms of the lineup, and then we've decided after 66 minutes to take them off. And I was more like, if we're going to go strong and we decide to play them, let them play. You know. Let him play the whole 95 minutes or whatever it is, isn't it? Because it was obviously so blatant that the substitute didn't work, but our substitution hadn't worked for a couple of weeks, have they? You know, we had a magic spell of being able to introduce people from the bench, and bang, it was a totally different game. And so there's a lot of things to be discussed, isn't it? And we've got to be careful that we don't become too negative. But it's just hard, isn't it? Because you're looking at something that I think we've always been pretty good at finding reason to think that this will change. Next game, this will change. Next game is Fulham away. Is this about to change? I don't know, Trevor. You know, it almost feels like, the season is done. And that sounds funny, isn't it? Because, you know, we're still right in there in joint second, isn't it? But I just struggle to pluck that positive, Trevor. Give it to me. I just struggle with it.
Well, listen, for what it's worth, even though I was kind of leading the charge and I was the most overtly annoyed of the 3 of us, the 2 other lads did say, look, we have an opportunity to reset now for what it's worth. I think what we've done is we've kind of played over the last few weeks into City's hands, first of all by coughing up the ownership over the course of where everything is going to go. It was in our hands. We coughed that up against United. And then we failed to capitalise by losing on a weekend when the other pair lost ground as well. And it just felt, I don't know, last night as if, this is just an ask too many. That theory that I was floating out with you last week, do you think has the wave that we were up on our surfboard started to crash, and are we on the way back down? It felt like that. And then you hear Kloppo talking about the power of our performance. I'm like, lad, there was no power in that second half performance at all. There was no intensity at all. And it started to, I think, really expose some of the problems that you see in the fan base. And maybe you're hopefully a little bit immune to this, but I'm sure amongst your own mates, you understand what I'm talking about here. People have their scapegoats. So I said something vaguely negative about Cody Gakpo's impact, and then you get 2 lots. You get the lads who are absolutely viciously...
Hello there. Have you ever found yourself getting ready to watch the Liverpool match? You've got your mates round, you've got your drinks, you've got your snacks, you're all set to go. It's going to be a good day. And then you find out, the game's not actually being broadcast in your region. There's the heartbreak, there's rage, there's despair, there's fury. You're upset. You're looking for a solution. Well, we've teamed up with NordVPN to bring you a game-changing solution. That's right. With NordVPN, you can switch your virtual location to a country where the game's on live. It's like having a global ticket to sports, TV shows, and movies from all around the world. And here's the best part. If you go to nordvpn.com/Anfield Index, you'll score the best discount on your NordVPN plan. Plus, our link gives you 4 extra months free on the 2-year plan. And that's what we call a winning streak. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, what if it's not for me? What if I don't like it? What if I'm not getting the use of it? Don't worry about it. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's totally risk-free. I've been using NordVPN to catch all the Liverpool matches and TV shows that I'd normally miss out on. It's totally transformed both my weekends and my TV watching. And not only that, not only does it give me access to stuff from all around the world with the click of a button, it keeps all my data safe. It means that the miscreants, the ne'er-do-wells, what my grandmother would have called scallywags, who lurk on the internet to try and steal your information, can't get to your information. NordVPN keeps it safe for you. So don't let geo-restrictions bench you this season. Visit nordvpn.com/Anfield Index and make sure that you're in the game, no matter when or where it's being played. Remember, it's not just sports, it's your all-access pass to binge-worthy TV shows and blockbuster movies from all around the globe. NordVPN literally unlocks the world for you and keeps you safe from the world. So don't miss out. Head over to nordvpn.com/Anfield Index and let the fun and games begin.
Agreeing with you in a way that you weren't even saying and think he's useless. And then you have people who are absolutely defending the kid and saying he's a good lad and what are you talking about? But we're in that kind of crazy town now, Jan, where people are starting to get very extreme with their takes. They're saying it's just as well Klopp is leaving, for example, is one of the standard takes I heard. People are leaning into this now, these extremes of emotion. And I suppose this is what you reap what you sow, don't you, Jan? Because we have been under Klopp. It has all been about emotion, hasn't it? And I think maybe for the likes of me and you who are more old-fashioned gents in the way that we approach things in general, not that you weren't comfortable with it, but it's not a position I like to place myself in where it's all about the emotion. I like to have a little bit of detachment, because when you are, then you risk things like this. And there has been some terrible lows in the Klopp era as well as those highs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with you, Trevor. But obviously the majority of all that we've escaped because we've done ever so well. My biggest problem with this group of players is that they have not, as of yet, been able to perform at the level that's required for long enough for them to be able to have that little bit of credit in the bank that the previous teams had. You know, where you kind of go back and go, yeah, okay, you know, Bobby Firmino is not looking good, but we know the boy can play, yeah. So I'm now looking at a lot of our players, and you mentioned Cody Gakpo. Let me throw Dominic Szoboszlai into the mix, yeah? Did ever so well when he came into the club. He looks lost now. That's not the same as being a bad player, but he looks lost at the moment. And that again brings me back to, okay, consistently, he did okay at Leipzig and consistently done well for the Hungarian national team, but he has not done consistently well for Liverpool at the level that's required to compete with Manchester City. And that's why when you look at this and you think, and he's not the only one. I think there's loads of them who have not delivered at the level we would like them to deliver at, and some of them haven't had an awful lot of time, isn't it? So because of that, I just find it, that's why I struggle to be able to go, Trevor, will be okay. You know, because I'm not sure what these boys are going to produce. And that is a worry, I have to say. That is a worry.
Yeah, and I guess the worry is for the 6 remaining fixtures and the very, I don't know if this is fair to say, but it feels like the outside chance that we have of pulling off what would be now quite a miraculous league victory. And the reason I say miraculous, that seems a bit of a stretch because we are in there. You don't see City now relinquishing any points between now and the end of the season. Therefore, the thing is beyond our reach. Whereas Arsenal may have started to wobble, like I think a few of us suspected they might, and that may continue. So you would have hope there, but it's very hard to have hope against the machine that is Manchester City, even in the wake of their defeat against Real Madrid. I have a little question for you, because I was involved in a debate around this topic, and I'd very much like to get your take in it. The conversation went like this: I hope Manchester City win, and like people saying it, holding their nose, because I want them to have 2 more games and have that distraction, so on. And then you had what I'll admit was very much my side of the bargain. I was sitting there watching that game, and I was saying, I hate watching anybody who isn't Liverpool doing well in Europe. I'm a fan. I can own that. That's the truth. So I'm hoping they'll go out and it'll have a negative impact on their season. Did you, probably a far more sensible attitude, what was your take on it, and what is your take on it and their exit in Europe? Do you think it'll just galvanise them, or do you think it's actually potentially going to work in terms of unsettling them further?
So there might be a minor fallout from the game in terms of, Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland asking to be taken off because of tiredness, and obviously then Pep Guardiola, strangely I found, that letting the world know that was the reason that he took them off, because they asked to come off. And so there might be a little bit of a fallout with that. In terms of extra games, it looks like they're going to have 2 extra games anyway. They're going to have the FA Cup semi-final and possibly the FA Cup final anyway. But I totally agree with this European thing. European clubs are Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Liverpool. They're the Champions League clubs, aren't they? Manchester City, and they will probably admit that themselves. Certainly, Pep Guardiola will admit that they don't belong in that. And yeah, I don't want them to either. So I wasn't one of them, Trev. I thought, let him go through and let's have 2 tough games against, whether that's Bayern Munich or whether that would have been Arsenal. No, I was against that. No, let him go. Let him go out. It's such a beautiful competition, isn't it? When you get to the latter stage, it's such a beautiful competition to win, isn't it? And you got to somehow you earn the right to be there. And we've had Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester City are probably the 2 clubs, aren't they, that sort of come from nowhere and try to buy their way into the top table of European football, isn't it? And I'm kind of with that a little bit. Go, whoa, wait your turn, lads, wait your turn. This takes years, So I was quite pleased the City went out.
Do you hear? Can I just, while we're on the topic, because we may not get a chance to talk about this again before the end of the season. You would often in your current professional career have exposure to people who might be hearing different bits and bobs, and I understand it's unlikely that anybody's hearing anything here. My take on the 115 charges, Jan, has always been, I see the likes of Jamie Carragher or someone having a bit of a laugh about it on Sky, and people think, oh, that's wonderful or whatever. I don't know that helps at all. I saw Ian Wright talking about it, and most people started saying that Ian Wright was pointing out it was very brave and he was taking a stand. But no, what Ian Wright was saying is he hoped the charges would be, the case would be brought forward so the charges could be dropped and we could get to the bottom of this, and it's not fair on the City players. That was his take. It wasn't anti-corruption, his stance at all. It was just, it's not fair on the players. That's what Ian Wright was saying, if you listen to it. I've always had this feeling, Jan, that it's going to end up being like everything in the world, which is money will win, and that they will lawyer the shit out of this until they get what they need to get. But I'm constantly faced by people who I thought were far more cynical, bitter people than me, who would have a lot less faith in humanity than me, saying, oh no, it's over. They're gone. You're looking at relegation and perhaps vacation of titles, stuff like that. I honestly don't. I have no concept of how that's going to happen. I don't see that happen. But these people are convinced it's going to happen, Jan. There's a real belief out there that there will be some sort of reckoning for these lads, and it'll have to come. I personally don't see it. What are you hearing, or what's your personal feeling about it?
I'm not sure either, Trevor. Obviously, what's happening here is that it's the first time we've encouraged or seen punishment like Everton and Nottingham Forest have had, points reduction because of they've broken some financial rules. We have to stress that Manchester City haven't broken financial fair play, but what they've done is they've messed around with the books. They cooked the books basically to make sure they don't break the financial fair play. And what you say, in a way, is right, because it's what we're hearing. What we're hearing from, almost from within Manchester City. I can't tell you who's telling people these things, but there's a lot of people who are well connected, and the people within Manchester City are not overly concerned. And that has to be a worry. That has to be a worry, because don't forget, they are half of this case. The other half of this case is the Premier League accusing them of 115 different things. But the other half is Manchester City, who's looking at the charges and looking at the evidence they haven't gone, this will be fine. I can't see this being a problem. And that's a big worry, Trevor. That is a big worry. And it is because Manchester City know what they're capable of doing to defend themselves, which is obviously get the best, smartest lawyers in the world, not just in the UK, but in the world, to defend their case. And they will also feel that when they looked at the charges and gone, we can answer most of these. So within the camp, not overly concerned. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time now, Trevor, and sometimes when there is cases like Everton, I don't go to Goodison very often, but when I was at Everton, everybody was shaking, going, I hope they're lenient, because they knew they were done.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin De Vries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
But you're not hearing that at Manchester City, and that is a worry. So, Ian Wright and whoever else can say what they want, isn't it? But I think this is going to be very, very difficult for the Premier League to get over the line.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that I'm not too off beam with my take. I don't like being pessimistic about it. I just don't see a way you can get past infinity money as a resource. It just isn't the way the world works. So it's going to be interesting. I think an awful lot of people are going to have a big disappointment around that. I don't think they're going anywhere. So that is something that people are going to have to get their head around. And with that in mind, we have a bigger picture. Maybe you and I might spend a bit of time looking at that if we hear a little bit more definite rumours about who's going to be involved in guiding that future. The initial Ruben Amorim thing got deflated by Ruben Amorim, who said that there was no conversation with Liverpool whatsoever. And there was some throwaway line about how his son was telling him to do something or whatever. But since then, there has been further stoking of that particular rumour, but we'll wait until it takes some sort of firm hold before we start committing to any chat about it, because there's no point really. Who that is going to very, very much influence even what the squad shape will be like, I think, going forward, and who might be going and who might not be going. And we have, as we look forward to the summer, the Saudi money is going to come back into it again. I think the budget's back on the table, and we will be asking ourselves questions about, some of our own beloved stars, quite possibly. In the meantime, and just for the last couple of minutes of this show, we have ahead of us this 6-game thing. And previously, you and I have looked at the fixtures that Arsenal and Man City have, and I think what we've discovered really over the last few weeks is there's no point trying to make any predictions about other teams anyway, because neither of us would have expected that they'd have the results they did in the Premier League recently. These games that we have ahead of us, though, we can kind of assess given the type of form we're in. Now, do you take heart, Jan, from the fact that Trent got some minutes and now he's getting those passes back into his feet again and getting some legs and might be ready to play a full game against Fulham? And Robbo on the far side, I thought Robbo had one of the few people to acquit himself quite well on Thursday night. Maybe we'll be able to play a more regular looking midfield with an actual number 6 and bring Endo back into it and have Mac as an attacker where he was doing so well. Maybe we've reignited something with the strikers and Diogo Jota is going to be back in form. I guess what I'm saying to you is we do at least have options now. Disjointed and all as we looked against Atalanta, lacking ideas and all as we looked against Atalanta. There is a thing there to fight for. It's very real. Of course, it will involve us winning every single game, starting against Fulham away, then going to Everton away, and going to West Ham away. That's a big ask. We have Spurs at home. We go away to Villa, another big ask, and then we have Wolves at home. None of those are what you call gimmies at all, Jan. How are you feeling as you look forward to that set of 6 fixtures? Are you inclined to make a judgment based on what we've seen in the last few games? Is it possible to make a judgment without taking the last few games into account, because there seems to be a pattern?
So do you remember what we spoke about last time? And we spoke about the Crystal Palace performance would give us a good indication of maybe what would happen in Atalanta. And I think that wasn't a million miles wrong, was it, Trevor? We didn't play particularly well against Crystal Palace, and we didn't play particularly well against Atalanta. The funny thing with Atalanta is, like, I've almost forgotten that we won. It feels like another defeat, doesn't it? I almost forget that we won the game. So what's going to happen on Sunday at Fulham, Craven Cottage? I don't know. I'm in the dark. I spoke to some people I was at the City Champions League game, and they said, well, Fulham got nothing to play for. But they're the kind of things you say, Trevor, if you've never been involved in the game. Because, you've got nothing to play for, but then that allows you to play with a certain amount of freedom. They've had all week to prepare. Can you imagine how heavy the jerseys feel for our players at the moment with all the pressure and the way that we're playing? And if anything, the one thing they have, Fulham, they have pace, they have good attacking options, you know what I mean? So easily, that can quickly become one of the nightmare fixtures where they're running through at will with their pace and their good players. So I really don't know what to expect.
Yeah, and that was, I think, the main takeaway for me. When you saw how Atalanta played against us in the first leg, they were capable of playing these little triangles around us and one-touch football and a through ball, and we were fully exposed. And it was depressing, utterly depressing to watch. Whether it's lack of tracking from midfield, whether it's lack of defensive positional awareness, whether it's just the whole unit gone to shite at the same time, I don't know, but it's very, very, very demoralising to watch. It happens again against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace's goal is a perfect replica of the kind of goal that Atalanta scored against us. I thought, ping, 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 we're wide open. There's a lad side footing it into the net with nobody around him, and your brains are coming out your ears. You're thinking, what the fuck is actually occurring here? With that being the case, you would have thought, every game now we say, well, there's going to be Klopp will give them a rocket. They're going to have a wake-up call. But instead, we go out and we do what we did last night. We fashion no opportunities, 10 shots over the entirety of the game. I'm wondering if it's too big of an ask now at this stage for us to get this thing back on track. Or do we have to do one last bit of an act of faith in this team who have surprised us with late turnarounds in the past, who are obviously capable of winning all 6 games comfortably if, some of them remembered who they were, for example. It's a tough one, isn't it? Like, I know you're going to say you're not sure what to expect. Do you have an inkling one way or the other, though, in terms of, like, what's the dominant one? For me now, the dominant one, I hate to say it, is I don't see how we pull it around from here, and yet I really want to believe we can.
Yeah, so obviously what you're talking about, and I guess that's sort of the one thing we have to brings us a bit of comfort, is Klopp, and what he's capable of doing. the only thing I will say in terms of that, ever since we played Manchester United, he's had a lot of chances, hasn't he? You know, before the Atalanta game, a half-time of the Atalanta game, before Palace, a half-time, blah, blah, whatever it is. And even that is not working at the moment. So I'm totally with you. I would love to go, listen, I know we'll be okay. I know we'll settle in. We'll be in midfield. McAllister will run the midfield. We'll do A, B, and C. We create chances for our strikers who will score. We don't look capable of scoring at the moment. So all them things are against what we normally build up to things that's going to get us out of the position that we're in. And so, yeah, I'm a little bit negative at the moment.
And just lastly then, in terms of, we have this availability of all of our players again, or the vast majority of our players again, which of course should be a wonderful thing. I think maybe on the 60 or 70 minute mark, when I was watching Trent slicing things and jogging around on the left side of midfield, I was thinking, fucking hell, this is not what I was hoping for at all. But obviously you've got to allow that the lad's going to come back. It was more kind of an attitudinal thing that I was putting on him. It's not necessarily how he's feeling. It was the way he was sort of slouching about a bit. I thought, really? But anyway, that's me projecting stuff on. I'm wondering what you think is our strongest lineup to finish the season, because that would probably be, obviously, substitutions are going to be a big deal. The likes of Harvey coming off the bench and all that kind of thing. If you were going to go with your strongest 11 now, given the form that some of these lads are in, like Mo Salah is almost unrecognisable, for example, what would it be? Just to wrap up our show today, what would it be if you were going to go as, whether hopeful or not, as strong as you could?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the goalkeeper gives himself. Alisson will be in nets. Trent will play right back. One of the centre-halves will be Virgin. Robbo left back. And I think Konate's not having a particularly good time at the moment either. Very unsure in a lot of his actions in it, but I would still give him a go. And I still think that we look at when he's at it and when he can get round the pitch. You know, I still think we look a better team when Endo's in it. Although it appears that Klopp is quite prepared to give Curtis Jones a lot of minutes, isn't he? As if he wants to play him back in form for the last 6 games, isn't it? So going with that, Endo, McAllister, and Curtis, and up front, it's that is tricky, isn't it? I wouldn't be against putting Mo on the bench and try and bring a little bit of unpredictability back into our game. Mo Salah, in my opinion, is more and more going down the sort of Messi route, you know, where he wants the ball to feet and he wants to do his little bit with a couple of dribbles and a pass and whatever. He isn't that threat in behind anymore. The fullbacks aren't scared of the space that's being left, isn't it? So I wouldn't be against going with Jota, with Diaz and with Nunez. I know Nunez is another one of these, isn't it? But I just have a feeling that if there's 3 of our front men, you can go to and listen. This is what I want. Yeah, total chaos. I don't think you get better than Jota, Nunez, and Diaz. You know, and that would be my choice right now. What we're looking for here now is just chaos, isn't it? It's just run here, there, and everywhere. If we run into each other, we run into each other, isn't it? But see what we can work, isn't it? The other two are better used, Gakpo and Salah, in a structure. But I think our structure at the moment is broken down, hasn't it? Our structure is not working. So my suggestion would be, let's try something else, something that you don't see very often in the Premier League. Almost a bit like Luton, innit? Only with better players.
I love it. I'm very much in agreement. It's about, at this stage, work rate and potential chaos, and let's see what happens, see where the chips fall. I'm hoping that when we speak next, we'll be talking about something having been put back on track, and you never even know what might happen in the other games to help us along, but we will see. Obviously, City have the cup game, so it's going to be a while. I think we play twice before they play next, so we could have opened up quite a lead on them. Psychologically, maybe that'll have an impact. Who knows? All these things could be good, but we'll wait and talk about it when they actually are good. The games, in terms of the fixtures, We have obviously got Fulham at the weekend. That is at Fulham, and that is a 4:30 kickoff. And then on Wednesday we have Everton. Maybe you and I might be able to do Thursday, depending on your schedule, to talk about both of those. We'll talk about it when the mics go dead, but I want to let you go now. Thanks for doing the half hour with us. Really appreciate it. Who knows, Jan? It's a big ask, but there could still be something to rescue from this season.
Listen, we wouldn't be surprised if we went and won the game comfortably. Of course we wouldn't. But at the moment, you can't be 100% sure. So I think we'll beat them 2-2.
See, that's a pro right there. Saves the zinger for the end, folks. We'll leave it at that. That was Jan Molby. I've been Trev Downey. We've enjoyed taking this brief show to you this week. That's all my fault. I apologise. And thanks to Jan for fitting us in. We'll be back with you next week to talk, hopefully, about 2 wins for the Reds. So, mind yourselves.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.